Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. The Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode today wielded the big stick as he sacked the General Manager of the State Building Control Agency, Mr. Ayegbe Olushola, over the alleged role in the Lekki Gardens building collapse. The governor's decision followed an investigation indicting the General Manager for negligence. 3 other senior officials were also sanctioned. The governor warned other public officials, private building owners and contractors to always adhere to building plans and approvals on their structural drawings during construction. Over 30 people died when the 5-story building, which was under construction, collapsed at the Lekki area of Lagos. All right, now we cross over to Abuja. Linda Kigbe is standing by. Hey, Linda.
Hello, Ijoma. Good to see you and welcome to the nation's capital. Now we begin with the elections in Rivers State. The Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations says there will be massive deployment of security personnel before, during and after the State and National Assembly rerun elections in Rivers State. The DIG, Mr. Sutoyin Wakama, gave this assurance during his visit to the Independent Electoral Commission in Port Harcourt in the company of a National Electoral Commissioner in charge of operations, Hajia Zakari Amina. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Army has also pledged to sustain its onslaught against criminality in the state and the Niger Delta region. Our correspondent Emmanuel Erei reports. Now joining me now to look further at Saturday's process is INEC's Director of Voter Education and Publicity, Mr. Oluwole Osazeuzi. Mr. Osazeuzi, welcome to the News at 10.
Thank you for having me.
So Saturday's election is just around the corner.
Yes.
How prepared is INEC for the rerun elections?
Thank you. Preparations have commenced in earnest. Training, or retraining rather, of the ad hoc personnel to be used for the elections is ongoing. As throughout the week, we train and retrain the ad hoc personnel. Materials, non-sensitive materials, have been delivered to the local government offices, and some of those offices in River State have already started compartmentalizing these materials in accordance with the wards. The sensitive materials in the next couple of days will be delivered to the INEC office in the presence of security agents and party representatives. So basically, all the logistics have been put in place. We've changed the electoral officers who are going to conduct the election. Everybody is aware, everybody is on high alert, and I think basically from a logistics point of view, from an operational point of view, the Commission is ready to conduct a good election. Now,
Rivers State has had this long-running issue with electoral violence. We see that play out in the last elections, and even before, after the main elections, and even into these new elections. Yes. How prepared is INEC to deal with this issue?
Well, INEC is concerned about all the security issues surrounding the elections, but we must have at the back of our minds that INEC is not a security agency. It's an electoral management body. Mm-hmm. But having said that, our concern stems from the fact that voters must be secured, materials must be secured, our staff, be they ad hoc or permanent, must be secured, and all stakeholders, including observers, journalists who will cover the events, have to be secured. So we are concerned about that, and that is why we're working in conjunction with the security agencies under the aegis of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Electoral Security. And basically, it's a committee that is organized in such a way that there's coordination between all security agencies involved in the conduct of elections, and even those like the armed forces who are not directly involved in the conduct, but also have the statutory constitutional responsibility to protect the territories of the country. So they are in a fallback position. They will do a perimeter cordon, but basically the police is the lead security agency for the elections, and we are working very closely from your news report so that the DIG is in River State for the next couple of days, and of course there'll be a commissioner of police in each of the central zones and an assistant inspector general of police who will coordinate the efforts. So we have been fully briefed, and whatever information we have, we pass on the security agencies, and I know that emphasis has been on intelligence gathering and taking other remedial and preventive measures to ensure that those who are hell bent on disrupting the process do not succeed this time. Lessons have been learned from the 2015 experience, where there was a lot of violence in some areas of the state.
Now, we learned 6,000 police officers are going to be on ground deployed to River State. Yes. How do we, toe the line between too many law enforcement agencies coming out and scaring people who are coming out to vote over militarization? I know we had this conversation before we started this interview. How does INEC plan to manage the situation?
Well, we must balance what is essentially a civil exercise. Elections are essentially a civil exercise. But the movement of men, the logistics, the movement of materials, personnel, is such that apart from wartime, you don't have such movements and delicacy of operations outside of any other exercise apart from wartime. So, again, we're careful not to have what people have termed over-militarization of the electoral process. There's a lot of hue and cry following the Ekiti and Osun experiences. So, but I think the discourse should center around the professionalism of those deployed to conduct the elections and the conduct of the security operatives who are on ground to ensure the safety of all who are involved in the conduct and partaking in that exercise. So the emphasis, as I said, will be more on ensuring that these things are nipped in the bud, and where people still insist on going ahead, to ensure that those people are quickly brought to book and the situation is quickly contained.
You said conduct of the military personnel deployed. Is INEC having a conversation? Has a conversation been had, a plan as regards this issue, talking about conduct and professionalism?
Yes, conduct of all security agencies. All security agencies. The police have 6,000 people. They're the lead security agencies, but we also rely on the other paramilitary and other agencies like the road safety, immigration, customs, prison services. All these other things also assist us. There's a coordination and emphasis. There's a code of conduct for all security operatives who are engaged in this duty. And the first thing is to secure lives, but they must be polite. They must be ensure they don't infringe on people's rights in discharging their own duties.
Okay, now we know that political bigwigs and politicians are convening in River State for this election, and the IG of police has said that they shouldn't go to the polling centers with their orderlies. Are you aware of this directive, and how can this be enforced?
The first thing is that we do not encourage people who are not voters moving anywhere in the first place. So this is an election for River State people who are registered in River State. If you're a big wig and you don't have a role to play in the conduct of elections, you shouldn't be there in the first place. But if you are a registered voter, for purposes of the election, we do not recognize big wigs. Everybody is a citizen. Your vote is equal to every other person's vote, and you are not allowed to go with people. If you get to the polling unit, there's a parameter where the aides ordinarily ought not to go beyond. We also realize that there's certain people who occupy certain government positions and will probably need protection, and we can't stop them from discharging their own duties. But at the same time, we will not entertain armed security agents, for example, in the polling unit. That's not allowed.
Well, how can you enforce this?
Well, basically, we've had series of meetings, and don't forget, this is not novel. It's something we've had even in 2015 general elections, and by and large, in most states, this has been observed very much by these people, because we engage them and tell them this is what is right and this is what is wrong. And of course, we encourage people to report incidents where people flout the directives of the orders.
Okay. Thank you.
Shame.
Thank you, Mr. Uzi, for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you for having me.
Now to more stories. Members of the Ekiti State House of Assembly are calling international organizations to assist them secure the release of 4 colleagues allegedly detained by men of the Department for State Security. Bearing placards with various inscriptions, the lawmakers today took their protest to the Embassy of the United States and the residence of the British ambassador in Abuja, describing the alleged action by the DSS as unjust. Meanwhile, the President General of the National Union of Civil Engineering, Construction, Furniture and Wood Workers has been speaking on the nationwide picketing of construction companies. Comrade Amechi Asuguni, who is also the Vice President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, told Channels Television in Abuja that construction companies have been treating the issue of workers' welfare with levity since October 2015. He reaffirmed the union's commitment to ensure that all companies in the country remain closed until they are prepared to dialogue with the workers on their welfare.
As a matter of fact, this is the first time industrial relation practice was embarrassed by experts of construction employers, and we must engage until justice prevails. This decision was taken by the Central Working Committee, having taken a nationwide resolution of the member branches who have resolved to drive home demand in order that what is good is done to their welfare. I must tell you that the employers of labor, they have been adamant for this period, and ultimatum was given to them to actually fast-track discussion to prevent unnecessary whatever that you may tie industrial action. But they choose to be adamant, and the employee also choose to drive home demand in order that they demonstrate their right in accordance with the Constitution of Nigeria. No matter what you have come to invest in Nigeria, you cannot do that at the detriment of Nigerians. If it's about redundancy, they have removed workers. They have sacked workers unduly. And we're talking about welfare, a tradition that is due on 2 years. This has started nothing less than 35 years. And this time around, they want to scrap it. How can you scrap an instrument that governs the condition of service of workers? It's unacceptable.
And that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Joma.
All right, thanks a lot, Linda. Linda Akigwe from the nation's capital in Abuja. Now, when the news at 10 returns, central bank's forex restrictions put listed bottling company under pressure. And that's Beyond Business. To join us again.